What's going on, everybody? Check this out. So, this is kind of like an update regarding the effects of the global crisis or crises, I should say, that's taking place and how it's impacting uh, the United States, specifically tenants who have not been able to pay rent. They haven't been able to pay rent. Why? Because they've been out of work to no fault of their own. And currently, there's no real solution that's in place to help tenants become whole. There are no rent sort of like moratoriums or rent forgiveness, I should say. There's no forgiveness for landlords, those who hold properties and deeds and have to pay their mortgages, right? There are no forgiveness for them at this point. They have to pay their mortgage note. They have to pay the taxes, right? This is crazy. This is an article from Bloomberg, and I'll just peruse through it real quick. I won't read the whole thing, but then I'll give you some of my thoughts regarding what's being said here. So, COVID-19. They say don't speak about this because the algorithm and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I'm going to speak about it because it's just what it is. It's just what it is. It's pushing New York City's affordable housing crisis to a breaking point. Look at 25-year-old Jessica Lee and her husband, who needed 4 roommates to afford their $4,000 a month 4-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn's hip Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood, a relative bargain in the Big Apple. Now her husband and everyone in the house have all lost their restaurant jobs, and she's the only one still working at a company making hand sanitizer. The landlord is threatening legal action to collect the $20,000 in back rent. Nobody is hiring in the food industry, in quotes, she says. I'm on the hook because I'm the only employed person on the lease. Okay. I'll leave a link to the article in the description. You know what's crazy? Mm. Anyone and many people, well, anyone can be, any tenant in New York City, in the country, who's going through this, who's lost their jobs, could very well be going through this same type of experience, maybe even worse, you know. And you see what the landlord is telling them. The landlord wants her 20 stacks back. She wants her $20,000 back because she has whatever payments to make. She has her own obligations she needs to meet, or whoever, she, the landlord, period. The domino effect is widespread in this type of situation. And when this is why I stopped talking about, even like, I stopped even watching stuff on stimulus updates. To me, it's just all a wash at this point. It's all a wash. I was saying in previous videos a couple months ago, the way that the country and the leaders and whatever politicians are, guiding everyone, or managing, I should say, it's done in a very poor, extremely poor way, because people are not receiving the assistance that they were possibly promised, and those who don't rely on any types of government assistance or handouts are forced to not work, are forced to have jobs. Right now in New York City, the city, not the state, the city is in its third phase of reopening. Okay, while it's in its third phase of reopening, for example, you have 3 people who used to work in a restaurant who can't go back because they don't have the job. The jobs are not available anymore. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in this problem owing an insurmountable amount of back rent. Where's the relief? Where's the relief? Oh, but you know what? You have the CARES Act that pumped, they say 10 trillion, not 3 trillion, not 4, but 10 trillion into the economy. You know, the majority of that went into Wall Street, corporations, airlines, industries that just, apart from the people, the hands of the people, the paltry, the minuscule $1,200, the $1,200 check that reached the hands of certain people was already spent before they reached their hands. It was already spent. And now they're trying to figure out what to do at the end of this month. No, what to do before the end of this month is over, because that $600 federal unemployment addition is supposed to end by the 31st of this month. You know, there's a bunch of talks. You know, there's so many different variations of whatever proposal and bills, et cetera, that the government has just been playing around with the people. Just, this is heading to a situation where it's just going to be bad. It's just going to be bad. People are already riddled with debt. So why don't you assume more debt? That's what they're indirectly saying. Why don't you max out your credit cards if you could get any kind of credit? Okay, that's done. Well, you figure something out, because you still got to pay this rent. PPP loans, Paycheck Protection Program loans, was, given out to billionaires. Billionaires. What's the talk now? Kanye West and them, they got, relief. Billionaires. Meanwhile, you have these 4 people who are scrounging, who are living off of one income, paying a $4,000 rent. And that's just rent. That's just rent. You see how ridiculous these things sound? With no relief, no relief in sight. And these people in the office, in the government, just they're on vacation. They're on vacation. The stress is so deep for them, they just have to go on vacation. And so I guess, they're like, oh, I'm not going to stop whatever I'm doing. Yes, I'm an elected official, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to go on vacation. Why? I don't care about some economic turmoil that's taking place. I don't care about businesses filing for bankruptcy, businesses that can never reopen. I don't care about people who can't even feed their families, who can't even pay for the roof over their head, to keep the roof over their heads. I don't care about that. I don't care about people who don't have jobs. It's not my problem. That's the attitude. So if there's anything that's going to come, this generous stimulus package that the president is saying is going to be so generous or whatever, when is that going to hit? When is that going to hit the hands of the people? And by the time it does, can you imagine? This 20,000 is going to double. It could very well double by the fall. 40,000. And that's just one example of a group of people who are struggling. A group of people who are struggling. Where do you think they're going to turn? You don't think there's going to be some type of implosion? There's an implosion that's taking place? Whether everything is going on, it's beyond, whatever people feel and their opinions and whatever they think at this point. This is about survival. This is about survival. Whether the virus is real or not, people have been dying, etc. Whether the virus is real or not, folks have lost their jobs. Folks have lost their businesses. Folks have been forced to be extra, even more dependents. Those who have not had any nest eggs, or who exhausted, those who did have a nest egg where it's just gone, what happens to them? What about people who are living less than paycheck to paycheck? What happens to them? They don't even have enough resources to say, you know what, I'm leaving New York City. Rent is too high. Everything, the cost of living is just way too high. They can't even leave. So what are they made to do? What are they made to do? Go crazy? Decompensate? What are they supposed to do? Oh, they're not supposed to be angry. The people are not supposed to be angry though, right? People are not supposed to be extremely frustrated. Extremely. Like where is the solution? We don't see it. We don't see it. Because by the time these people get it together and come back from vacation, supposedly, to me, they're not coming back from vacation until after Labor Day. Like, for real. What are the schools doing right now? When you have institutions like Harvard, who still want their tuition, they still want their $50,000 a year tuition, but are telling their students, you could be in the dorms, but you could get your instruction online. So what you're saying is, Harvard, you're saying that the students can be cooped up in a dorm where there are frat houses that had been 100% exposed to COVID, etc., whatever you want to, whether it's real or not, it is what it is. You want students to be cooped up in these enclosed quarters in dorms. You know they're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. That's what young people do. Party, do all kinds of stuff. But expose themselves to something that could very well, and still take their tuition. You still want that $59,000 though, Harvard and all these other institutions that just huge endowment funds and all these other schools. There's no plan. Like, this is a mess, people. This is just a mess. What's the talks now in Florida that they're still thinking about opening the schools in August? Kids to go back to school in August. Meanwhile, I thought Florida was, now they're almost approaching the number one hotspot, if not the number one hotspot as of today. This is madness. It's madness. It's madness. What are we left to do? What are we left to do? Not to mention things with other problems going on. When people talk about social ills, they talk about discrimination, they talk about inequality, they talk about economic hardship, right? They talk about health crises, right? All these things that are going on, all these things. Everything trickles back down to money. Everything trickles back down to money. It's sad because if a loved one gets lost due to the pandemic, now you didn't have any proper planning. How are you going to pay for the funeral rites? How? Where's that coming from? You have no money. You're going to end up in a box and be put in Hart's Island where all the unknowns go in New York? What's happening here? What's happening here? You going to do a GoFundMe? Good luck with that. What's happening here? To raise funds so that you can just pay for your necessary, really everything goes hand in hand back to money. Everything is just like the balance is life issues versus money, because it all trickles back down to that, because this is the system that we're in. It's like freedom versus socialism or libertarianism or communism or whatever system. Whatever system or paradigm. There's no perfect system. But we know that we're perfectly desperate. I'm going to use that word. Some people like to ignore. They say, as long as it's not happening to me, it's not, it doesn't matter. No, it does matter, because everything directly or indirectly affects us, regardless. Regardless. It blows my mind to see and to hear how stimulus checks were sent out to people who have deceased. It was already like next to not $1,200. What could you do with $1,200? But those checks went out to deceased, dead people. and can't be recovered. So that's just money thrown away. Thrown away. Thrown away. People are talking about, the ramifications long term. This could, create hyperinflation. Okay, yeah. But the problem is, it's so hard to think about what you're gonna do today to help you survive tomorrow. It's hard. They're putting us in a corner where if you're not mentally sound and you don't have a real working plan and action, you could really fall victim and end up in a really, really depraved type of situation. God forbid you have others to take care of. You have a family. I mean, what is this about? What is this about? The shelter system. I mean, in New York City, it's just deplorable. So facts. They're getting hit hard too. Hard. They were already getting hit hard. Now they're getting hit hard, even harder, and are going to. Because look, we're in phase 3 in New York City. Everything's supposed to have been kind of leveled or declined, right? All the rates, COVID and the deaths is just declined. But look at the problems that are coming up, man. Look at it. Just really, we're still in a state of emergency. As recent as yesterday, this was said by the governor. Because look at the rest of the country. 38 as recent as yesterday. I don't know what the information is today, if it's changed. But as recent as yesterday, 38 states were in the red as far as having an increase in cases, having to shut them down again, lock them down again. There's a price for freedom. There's just a price. They're just letting us know in a strange way that we have to pay for freedom. But we don't know how far this can go. We just don't. We just don't. It's like a mental strain that's taking place that's becoming our norm now. That's becoming our norm. It's just this slow type of indoctrination. You need to now invest in face masks, customized face masks. That's become now our reality. That's become a part of a new way of living and evolution. They're talking about digitized money, digital dollars, digital currency, and this is separate from crypto. Governments are talking about creating digital money. Why? Because the paper currencies, not only are they valueless and they're trash, that communicable diseases can be transferred with paper money, right? Dirty money. Slowly indoctrinating us. Even those who are aware. It's like, how do you help others? How do you help yourself at some point? Because it's about being balanced, right? Being balanced, right? Trying to allow some type of logic to work over irrationality, over irrational behavior. You're trying to have your rational, logical self help you get through this. Meanwhile, you're dealing with insanity. We're dealing with insanity. And it's working so well. The division, the divisive strategies that have been put in place is working so well. It's almost like it's a masterpiece that's unfolding. This is what it looks like to me. It's just a piece of work. Like, this thing is just pristine, the way they have everything going on and unfolding and working to control the people, to rip away the freedoms, our inalienable rights, human rights, challenging everything. And it moves from one side to the other. It moves from one side to the other. Where's the middle ground? Where do you find the middle ground? There is no middle ground right now. You're just existing. We're just here, listless, like just floating. That's it. Hoping that we can catch something that give us some type of, that could ground us, right? That can. It's beyond, like, this is like really, a person can say, okay, we're gonna live off the grid. How many of us could really live off the grid right now? How many of us really can live off the grid? How many of us could really say, you know what, I'm out, this is it, done, grab you and your family and go live off the fat of the land, independent from what's going on? Many of us can't do that. Many of it we can't. Many of us can't do that. You say, you know what, I'm gonna fly somewhere. Go fly somewhere. You go fly somewhere and you discover you should have downloaded a COVID-19 application in your phone, got tested before you went to wherever you're gonna go, get to where you're gonna go and be told, oh, what's your status, or get tested. Because over there they have, like in the Caribbean, there are measures that's already taking place to track and trace people and their whereabouts, and to monitor that this is happening right now. To follow people. Like privacy, it's a thing of the past. Privacy, whatever you want to call it, it's a thing of the past. What's happening? What are we doing? What are we doing? When they tell you in New York, they tell you, wearing a mask is a law now. You're mandated. Blame the governor if a police officer walks up on you and tells you you need to wear a mask. That has not happened. I have not seen that happen, period. And I'm not just home. I'm out here. I'm out here. Period. I haven't seen one officer walk up to any groups, and I'm out here. Ask anyone to wear a mask. But the governor's saying, you need to wear this mask. It's the law. Wear the mask. It's the law. Don't wear it under your chin, because that's a chin guard. Wear a mask, because it's the law. You're keeping people safe that way. Meanwhile, I'd like to see, and the world would like to see after a while, right? Eventually, like, where's the evidence that suggests that wearing a mask does protect someone from getting sick? Where's the statistical evidence, the scientific data that would suggest that? I'm not gonna say I don't want to comply with anything. That's not what I'm saying. But the opposing views, there's so many. It's just unbelievable. 2020 will go down as a year in infamy as far as the hardship that's taking place across the board. As I'm making this recording, you can hear the snap, crackle, and pop taking place in the background, right? The snap, crackle, and pop. Those are supposed to be illegal. Fireworks are supposed to be illegal. We're past 4th of July. They're still popping right now. And those are supposed to be illegal. Police officers are not stopping anyone from using fireworks. It's happened right in front of them. It's recorded. It's dark. This is just, what are we doing? What's going on here? We're on the cusp of something that's happening that even the people who think they know, they probably don't know how far and wide this can go. We just don't know. Every day now is become like, one day is like a millennia. Each day is just slow. It's just what it is. It's just new information. You don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and that's how we've been living for 4 to 5 months. the programming, the trauma, the conditioning, it's working very well. Very, very, very well.